Hey, this is Booty Bopper, and we are back for more of, Hey, this is Booty Bopper, and we're back for some more pacifist action. Last time, we got through Chapter 7 of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance without attacking on player phase. Well, almost. We had to attack one priest to clear Chapter 7, which was upsetting, but hopefully we don't need any player phase for the rest of the game. As a reminder, the rules are that we cannot attack on player phase, and if we have to, we dump one in the counting column of shame. Our number is 1 right now, so we better not have any more. Let's go ahead and dive back into this game. Before Chapter 8 starts, we sell off Shanon's iron and steel bows. We buy a few weapons and a vulnerary. Hand axes are now buyable, which makes our life so much easier when archers and mages get involved. We buy one for Boyd and Titania. We also forge Oscar an Iron Lance with +3 might and +10 hit called the Nips. This chapter also allows us to form our first support, which lets us begin the overpowered Oscar and Ike support. I get them their C support, which nets them both a buff of +10 of Void when they are near each other. Now it's time for Chapter 8, which looks to be a real breather after Chapter 7. It's a defend map, and we get an additional 50 bonus experience for every unit we don't deploy. This gives us a chance to get some of the bonus experience we missed out on before back with our large turn counts. I undeploy Mia and Soren. Titania easily clears the southern part of the map, clocking the boss with ease. Boyd holds down the east, picking up a couple of levels, while Oscar and Ike flex their new support by locking down the western side of the map. The chapter ends in one easy attempt, but not before we recruit Ileana, a mage who comes with a Thunder and El Thunder tome. She has the same problems as Soren, except she starts at level 6, so if I do try to get her to level 10 and promote, it'll be more doable than it is with Soren. It's
now
Chapter
it's
9
wine
time, and it's a complete disaster. This chapter gives us 2 new units, Mist and Rolf. Mist is a staff user, therefore useful, and she will help Ike defeat the Black Knight later, which I really want to do to make endgame easier. Rolf is a level 1 archer, the worst unit in the game on a normal playthrough, and he somehow, remarkably, finds a way to be much worse in this playthrough. Completely worthless. We also have Leth and Mordecai as NPCs. Ike can sort of control them, but their AI sometimes makes weird decisions, and since you can't issue commands to them after Ike uses his turn, you have to be vigilant in directing them. In my first attempt, I have them target a spot near the village in the northwest of the map. Unfortunately, they get walled by Mia, Boyd, and a couple of axe bros, so the bandit destroys both the villages. Those villages have a restore staff and a talisman in them, both of which I would like, but I can live without. Titania and Oscar are busy being chewed up by a massive group of reinforcements that spawn out of the throne while Ike hangs back to recruit Marcia, the Pegasus Knight from earlier. Normally, she's one of the best units in the game. Why? Well, I simp for Pegasus Knights, and they fly, and they're so good. And they're waifus. Without a Seraph robe, she may need a massive bonus experience dump to be combat viable, though. I use some fun strats to give her and Ileana some action by blocking off an archer. While all this is happening, Riss and Mordecai are being shredded to pieces by the pirates, and I just barely managed to get them to escape. That is, until one turn where I'm almost done with the map, and I forget to direct Leth and Mordecai to halt, and Riss fucking dies. I realized this mistake right after I had Ike shove Mist, and I knew I had just lost half an hour of my life. The good news, though, is that the second attempt goes much better. I forego the 2 villages, although I do think you can save the northernmost village in this challenge by sending Leth and Mordecai south to the fork in the road and then north. I don't think of that initially, and instead I just carve through the map with ease. Mia and Boyd handle the axe fighters to the north, and Titania rushes face first into a massive group by the throne. She's so goddamn good, I don't even know, man. One problem, though, emerges, and that's that the boss of this chapter has a Night Killer, a lance that deals effective damage against paladins, which worries me. But, because he's an idiot, he switches over to his much weaker javelin to avoid getting doubled. And it's a sweet feeling, man, because this chapter looks like it's on ice, and then Boyd gets 3-shot from full health by the pirate captain who doubles him and a generic pirate. What the fuck is that? Dom C, I take everything back. You were correct about Boyd. Fuck this guy. At this point, I'm upset. The lethargy of Path of Radiance is giving me a headache, and the thought of playing this slow chapter again is making me sick. I think about all the time I could be spending with my friends and loved ones. I could be enriching my body and mind or finding fulfillment in the world. Why do I hate myself so much? No one made me do this challenge. Am I just in denial? Has my life been such a string of disappointment and failure that my only way to cope is to cosplay success by doing a stupid run that no one asked for in a financial failure of a video game that seems to go out of its way to be slow and useless? Why am I me? And why do I press on in this meaningless existence?
I'm so depressed I can't even blink.
So, my third attempt goes a little bit better. I order Leth and Mordecai down south and then send them north. I'm determined to save at least one village. Without being able to clear the way up north, the quickest way to these villages make it a crapshoot about the first one. So I lose that village, but whatever. And then the second village, and because Fire Emblem hates you almost as much as Blue Cross Blue Shields hates you, Mordecai dies, and this is where I throw my hands up, have Titania run straight to the boss, leave Leth and Mordecai on Rome, and kill everyone and don't even care about anything else. What's hilarious about this fourth attempt is that Titania kills the boss with counter. It's a skill she has that sometimes deals half the damage she takes back on her, and I've never seen it matter, let alone kill a boss. I wonder what he thought, stabbing Titania and then just dropping dead for no reason. I clear the chapter quite easily on this attempt, forego the villages completely, and even feed nearly a whole level to Ileana. E-rank staves, here we come! La, 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 la. Before chapter 10, we sell Mia's weapons and some of our low durability weapons for some fat stacks. With 20k now in hand, I go to buy wholesale all of the javelins and hand axes on God's green earth, only to find out that the shop items change between chapters, so fuck me, I guess. Out of spite, I bought nothing, although in retrospect, I really should have bought some steel weapons, so double L on my part. We also forge a +5 might iron lance for Marcia called
So good.
How's the pie?
So good.
Chapter 10 is a real doozy. A stealth chapter, the goal is to escape, and we can either go ham with
The nips.
or be sneaky with our new thief Volk. If we clear the chapter without being spotted, we get a mountain of bonus experience, which is preferred because that means we can snowball Oscar or Marcia out of control instead of feeding all the battle experience to Titania. Like, Titania is so good, but it would feel nice to have multiple good units. Volk is an interesting unit. He can pick locks on doors and chests for $50 a pop. Some people rip him for this, but the items he gets are always worth way more than $50. In this chapter, he spends $200 to get us 3 new playable characters and a steel lance. We also get 2 other new units this map, Leth and Mordecai. Leth is normally aight. Really fast, doubles everything, but lacks 1-2 range, which, if you've noticed the trend, is a real drag in this run. Certainly more than normally in Path of Radiance. Leth is also our first Laguz unit, and they take time to transform into their usable state. When she's in human form, she cannot attack. Thankfully, as a cat, she transforms immediately, so she will probably be able to get some work done. Mordecai, another Laguz, is a bit more interesting. He has the same problem as Leth in that he has no 1-2 range. He also doesn't transform at the start of battle, which normally sucks. For our purposes, his skill, Smite, is the best part about him. Smite allows him to shove another unit 2 spaces instead of 1. Considering how often we're getting walled by groups of enemies, I don't know how awesome it'll be in this run, but Smite has always made clutch plays, whether in casual or efficiency runs. I've never stealthed Chapter 10, and I learned a lot doing it. For example, you need to rescue Braum to keep him from being spotted. You probably already knew that, but I'm dumb and easily impressed. Overall, this chapter is pretty easy, and I just want you to marvel at these LTC strats. On the way out, Titania grabs the statue frag, which will sell for some moolah. Unfortunately, we don't get to grab the Master Seal from the boss, but in the long run, it won't matter, because we'll get one next chapter so we can get our delicious E-staves. We sell that statue frag and deck ourselves out with some hand axes, like a bunch of them, man. We're sellouts to big hand axe. We also forge a Boyd, an axe named Lasagna. It's my favorite. We got 3 new units that we outfit, Nefni, Braum, and Kieran. Nefni is bad, but most people usually let it slide because you can do some Wrath Vantage shenanigans with her, and also because she's Nefni. Kieran is our second Cavalier, and oh, he's so good. No matter how you play this game, he's a monster. Yummy base stats, throws hand axes, mounted, Canto. This guy has it all. Like, I simp so hard for Kieran, and if you're not a Kieran fan, you should probably get your brain checked for growth rate derangement syndrome. Braum is an armor knight. 5 move. Path of Radiance. I've never deployed him a single time in this game, and I'm not sure if anyone ever actually has. I like Braum in Radiant Dawn as a character. Like, you know this dude dances like Charlie Puth and absolutely owns it. Path of Radiance Braum, though. Bad. But considering how walled we get by these high HP enemies, we'll actually bring Braum out from the bench. His support also provides half attack and half defense. We might try to get him as a support bot for Boyd. Before heading out, I support Titania with Boyd, Titania with Ike, and get Ike and Oscar's B support. We roll out in Chapter 11 and Braum dies. Well, at least he made it 2 turns off the bench. Before restarting the chapter, I have a reckoning with myself. I'm a hoarder. and want to obsessively hog all of the bonus experience because it makes me pathologically happy to see the bonus experience number creep higher and higher. But I eventually convinced myself the bonus experience is worthless if it's not given to anyone, so we dump a ton of our bonus experience onto Oscar and Kieran, and look at these gods! I still leave a bit of bonus experience for us to dump a truckload into Jill later on. Our overall strategy is to push Kieran, Oscar, Ike, Boyd, and gang up north past the Houth, where our best buddy will come from later. Marcia and Leth go along the right side, Brahm and Nefni take the left side, and Titania drives up the middle to kill everyone on Earth. Titania manages to get to the house that gives us an Elwyn tome, which is easy money. I'm so excited to sell it right in front of Soren's crying bitch face. This sends the thieves down south to where Brahm and Nefni are, which is a problem. It means that we need Brahm to hold on to the house without grabbing the item. We're not having a repeat of the Seraph robe from part 1. I'm not letting a thief make off with my delicious Draco shield. I need to rub that beautiful piece of metal all over my body. On the left side, Leth recruits Zyhark, an edgy Myrmidon who joins with the Adept skill, which sometimes allows him to act as if he has a brave weapon. It can be very nice, although it's rarely useful since Zyhark is sword-locked. His stats are quite good though, so I think we'll find some use for him during this playthrough. Plus, that killing edge looks rather tasty. At this point we're doing really well, but we're not going fast enough and the Black Knight shows up and kills us real good. What slowed us down was that we didn't kill the Bow Knights fast enough and they clogged up the choke point next to the Black Knight's house. So it's back at it, and this is where the slog of Path of Radiance is really starting to get to me. Hell man, I've been playing Path of Radiance and watching its enemy phases for hours while ignoring my hunger and impending sense of doom. I gotta go get some food during this enemy phase, I'll be right back. So we get out our steak to begin prepping our meal. Steak is a rare treat for special occasions, and the special occasion today is that the grocery store had a really good sale. We start by dry rubbing the steak with some salt, pepper, and cayenne on both sides. You can do a marinade if you want, but we'll be making a red wine glaze, so I don't want a flavor clash between the glaze and a marinade. Salt and pepper bring out the flavor of the steak, and the cayenne gives us a little heat, which I like. Ideally, we want this in the fridge overnight so that the steak can really absorb that saltiness, but we've only got just enough time for about 6 hours in the fridge before enemy phase ends. When it's just about time to take the steak out, we dice an onion and slice some mushrooms. Half of the onion will go into the glaze, and the other half will be sauteed with the mushrooms to top the steak. We put half a cup of red wine, half a cup of balsamic vinegar, a teaspoon of brown sugar, and half the onion in a pot to begin reducing into a nice runny sauce. A lot of people use shallots instead of onion, but I've never seen a shallot in my life, so that's too bougie a vegetable for me. We blaze up our cast iron to begin the onions, shrooms, and steaks. Everyone, by the way, should get a cast iron skillet. They're cheap, sturdy, retain even heat, and will last you forever. We dry saute the veggies for a bit before they begin to soften and caramelize. We rub our steak in a nice avocado oil and we put it in the skillet to begin smoking that bitch up. The reason I like to rub the steak in oil rather than putting the oil in the skillet is that it prevents a lot of the nasty oil pops that scare people away from cooking steak in a skillet. The onions and mushrooms are looking done, so we pull them out and replace them with some asparagus. We need a side item and want to dry cook them until we get some charring on the asparagus. Back at the glaze, it's reduced to the level we want, so we throw in a tablespoon of butter. Once the butter melts, our glaze is done and we put our burner on low to keep it warm while preventing it from further reducing. We flip the steak and that's a nice crust we got there. A little overdone, but mistakes happen and it's still good. We put some salt and pepper on the asparagus and then put some canola oil on it to really blast it. Once the oil dies down, get some lemon juice on it to freshen up the asparagus. Fresh lemon juice and some zest is preferable, but if you've only got bottled lemon juice, that's fine. It gets the job done. When the steak comes off, you want to sit it. If you cut it open too soon, the juices will flow out, drying up the steak. You want the steak to absorb all of those flavors, and also the steak will continue to cook for a little while after you take it off the stove. I like the steak to be a nice medium rare, which keeps the steak super juicy. Sadly, this steak is about medium to medium well, which is more cooked than I wanted, but that's okay. Mistakes happen, and you learn for next time. I was a little distracted thinking about Path of Radiance, lost in thoughts all alone. Let's dress our plate, and get back to the game and see how it's going. It's been 6.5 hours, so hopefully enemy phase is just about done. Hey, would you look at that? It's nearly there. Over the rest of Chapter 11, Nefni and Brahm are making a mad dash so that they survive, and we nick the heal staff with Volk to get rid of the healer on the left side of the map. Because the Black Knight is getting on our ass in a hurry, we don't have enough time to fuck around with the boss to get his droppable Master Seal. So it looks like we're only going to have 2 staff users this run, and Mist won't be able to get her horse until level 21. Yay! Eventually we finish the chapter, and the mad dash at the end is honestly really fun. Titania, Oscar, and Kieran are running on fumes, so finally winning is a relief. It was a very fun chapter overall, but man, does it get slow and bogged down when you can't get rid of dudes on player phase. It makes me excited for a potential Talius remake, which will let you skip enemy phase and hopefully the entire game as well. Chapter 12 gives us Soth, a thief and not a very good one. Stealing in this game requires you to meet strength and speed thresholds, so his poor bases will cause him to meet fewer of those thresholds than Volk. And his experience yield is halved, so it's harder to get his stats up at a reasonable rate. His poor durability also makes it risky to have him steal because you will likely have to leave him in enemy range, especially in this run where we won't be able to keep him safe by killing the enemies around him. Unlike Volk, he doesn't charge $50 per chest and door he unlocks, so if you're a cheapskate, you'll like that. Not the worst unit in the game, but very situational, and you'll rarely need more than 1 thief. The shop is also selling javelins, so we buy a bunch because it's one of the few things that makes me happy. We also forge a sword for Zyhark called
Blood Sky.
He's very edgy, so he needs an edgy sword. Chapter 12 is not very hard, but the enemy ravens here all have 2 very annoying traits when you don't have a player phase. They are very fast, and they fly. So we need to find ways to dispatch them as quickly as possible. Because they are so fast, no one on our team doubles. Our fastest units are Ike, Titania, Zyhark, and Oscar, and none of them will double. Even if we give them the speed wings, the only enemy they'll be able to double is the 113 speed raven on the map. Their speed also means that some of our characters get doubled. This is particularly nasty for Boyd, who will get killed in 2 rounds by any of the ravens on the map. It's a route map, so we don't have much choice but to kill them. So we need to find the fastest way to kill these enemies so they can't fly around and pick off our dudes. Unfortunately, Oscar with
The Nips.
and Kieran with the lasagna 3-shot the enemies. We need better than that. Titania with the 2-shots the regular enemies, as does Zyhark with the Lagoo Slayer. This is still not good enough because I want to 1-shot some of the ravens. The most reliable way to do this, and it makes me sick to say this, is to use Ike. Ike with a killing edge and his bond support with Mist has a base 46 crit, and the only enemy with more than 1 luck is the boss. This means we should hopefully kill about half of the ravens in 1 round that we can bait into Ike. If we also have Ike in range of Titania and Oscar, he will have plus 25 avoid. We also give the killer lance to Oscar so that he has a chance to 1-shot the raven that starts at the top left of the map. On the first turn, we can bait that raven with Oscar and the middle left raven with Ike. Oscar crits his raven, but Ike does not crit. I'm fine with this because at least we killed 1 of them. Overall, this chapter mostly goes smooth. Our strat is basically building several barriers so that Riss and Mist cannot be attacked and Boyd cannot be attacked more than twice in a single turn. The best part of this chapter is that Jill recruits herself by talking to Ike. She's a Wyvern rider, the best class in the game, and goddamn am I happy to have a Wyvern. Jill will basically be candidate number 1 for a massive bonus experience dump. And hey, she's here to grab some experience on this fun chapter. The problem we face is that all these dudes are so fast, meaning they have some sexy avoid, and at one point I miss 5 attacks in a row. This is bad. With the ambush spawns and the beast of a boss, we're kind of up shit creek. The only saving grace is that Lagoo's bleed experience and our dudes are getting so many level ups. Author is a particular standout. Jill comes equipped with an item called the Lagoo's Guard that cuts damage from Lagoos in half. This is great for her because it means she sees so much combat. She somehow levels up 4 times before the end of this chapter. How did she level up that much, you may ask? Well, we nearly kill the boss with Zyhark, except he whiffs on his adept Lagoo Slayer and no one can 1-shot this guy. So, we box him in, and he chooses to attack Jill every single time. But this motherfucker has an elixir, so we basically have to kill him 3 times. It's a lot of fun. To make it more reliable, we give Jill
The Nips.
But then the boss has corrosion, which drains weapon durability every once in a while. So, at the end of the fight,
The Nips
is in bad shape. But we got some god levels, and I'm feeling alright. Well, not quite, because look at that turn count. We get 0 bonus experience from this chapter, but that's okay because we were going to give it all to Jill anyway. So, damn. That was Chapter 12 and Part 2 of beating Path of Radiance without attacking on player phase. Thankfully, we didn't have to attack a single time, so our count of required player phase attacks is still just 1. Beyond that, all I can say is fuck. Path of Radiance enemy phases, but they're even longer. It's just like, go fuck yourself. See you next time. I can't wait.